So Rushi, I think we should start and the people might join in between.
Sure, Ashutosh. Yes. So thank you everyone for taking out time and joining us today for this session. My name is Ruchi and I'm a part of business development team at Yoma. And today's session will be delivered by Ashutosh. He heads the staffing business for Yoma and he's based out of Mumbai. So over to you, Ashutosh.
Hey, thank you, Ruchi. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I am Ashutosh Thakur. I lead the staffing business for Yoma Business Solutions. And first of all, thank you all of you for taking your time and joining this session. So today I take this opportunity to lead this session, which is about one of the manpower outsourcing model, that is service contractor model. This model is not very widely used by many of the organizations, but yes, there are few organizations in tech industry, in other industry as well, who are using this model and are successfully running this model. But before jumping on to the subject of this model, I would want to introduce you to Yoma Business Solution and the group we belong to. So the entire session I will divide this session into three parts. That is, first would be the introduction session of the event, what this model is all about. The second part will include what is the process, how does the operation works in this model, and the third part will be a Q&A session. I would be more than happy to answer all the questions that you may have during the entire session. So during the presentation, if any one of you has any sort of questions regarding anything in the presentation, you can park this question in the chat box and we might take all the question at end of the session. Moving to the further presentation, Yoma Business Solution is a part of BYLD Group. When you talk about the BYLD Group is one of the largest HR integrated service provider across South Asian region. We provide services like temporary staffing, executive coaching, learning and organizational development, psychometric and assessment tools, and along with that, we provide direct HR services to the corporate clients in India. We are operating in India since last 20 years. So when you talk about the companies that BYLD represents, we represent 6 of the top 10 global brands in the world, which are Everything Disk, which is a Wiley brand. In Everything Disk, we take care of the wide range of psychometric and assessment tools. We have Vital Smart. So Vital Smart is mainly into executive coaching. We have renowned brands, renowned programs like executive coaching. We have got Crucial Conversation. We have Crucial Accountability. Yoma Business Solution is into temporary staffing, which I will take you through that. We have got Persona Global, which is into effective communication, which is into personality development, which is into performance management. We have Blanchard India. Blanchard India is one of the leading training organization and executive coaching firm across India. And we have got great modules in Blanchard programs. We have got Eagles Flight, Trapologist at Work. This Trapologist at Work is the famous book written by Mr. David Covey, who is the son of Stephen Covey, who has written books like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We have Draw Training, which is also one of the leading training organization in the world. Coming to Yoma Business Solutions, Yoma Business Solution is a part of BYLD Group, and we are mainly into contractual staffing. We are mainly into temporary staffing. That means we provide temp staffs to a lot of corporate clients in India. Here we take care of the end-to-end HR activities of a particular employee, starting from his entry to exit. His entire HR is managed by Business Solutions only. So we currently have 12 branches across India. That means we are present in East, West, North, South, across all the zones in India. And we have got more than 10,000 people who are working on our payrolls, but for the different clients of ours. We have deployed these people across more than 350 locations in India right now, and which is growing by day. If you talk about the sourcing capability, we have our own recruitment team who are based out of all the branches, and we have got apart from our sourcing team, we have got other channel partners also who helps us sourcing in various tier 1 and tier 2 cities. So when you talk about sourcing, we can source any sort of profile anywhere in India, any you can corner of India. That's our sourcing capability. So coming back to our services, what all services that we offer to our client? So we have got two types of services. One is the fixed employment model, and the second one is non-employment based model. So I'll just first take you through what is fixed employment model. So in fixed employment model, we have general staffing, which is a typical flexi staffing, wherein we provide the vanilla services of outsourcing of manpower and payrolling and managing their compliances part. That is pure temp staffing. Then we have industrial staffing. In industrial staffing, we provide unskilled and skilled manpower to the manufacturing units and plants, where you require the ITI people or diploma holders, or for that matter, worker or migrated laborers. So all this sort of category we provide to industrial staffing. We have this unique model called a shared resource program. Why this is unique? Because no organization is offering this sort of solution, that is shared resource program. This is something an entity can share a resource with another entity, and this is mainly used by the consumer goods companies for their modern trade stores. In a store, you'll have one person who will be serving both the entities, just to save cost, and when there is no more footfall in that particular location and that particular store. So this is where companies can save a lot of money and can optimize their cost. Then we have this managed services also. Managed services is something where it is a blend of productivity management and general staffing. Here we provide manpower also, and we take care of their end-to-end productivity also. So what I mean by end-to-end productivity, that means with help of our own application, that is Proanto, these people, this associate uses our application, and they use this application for their attendance management, for their stock take, for Salesforce automation, for brand visibility, whatever task they do for the organization. The productivity has been managed. We run the entire show for that particular project. We manage the entire show. That is why it is managed services. And we are currently working with more than 20 FMCG companies and consumer good companies for this model. Then we have got staff augmentation. Staff augmentation we offer to those clients who are particular about their hiring budget. They are particular about their salaries. So it helps clients to find the resource for a particular project or turnkey projects, to have people in a set pricing, wherein it is inclusive of the fees, it is inclusive of the salary. So that is why it is staff augmentation. And it really helps client to optimize their cost and financial liquidity planning for their hirings. Coming back to non-employment based model, we have got two types of model in non-employment based. One is a service contractor model, which is the main highlight of this session. And then second is the apprenticeship program, that is NAPS, National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, that is run by the government. In National Apprenticeship Program, the government enables the freshers or any associate who is just past 12th pass or graduate to be employed in any of the organizations for an on-job training, where he will get a stipend. This is a win-win situation for organizations also and for the associate also, as he will get an experience and he will be, he can be absorbed by the client later on. Then comes to service contractor model. So I'm really excited about this model, because this model is not something that most of the organizations are aware about, and if they're aware about, they are really not aware that how exactly this model works, what are the legal implications that is in this model. And when we talk about this model, we talk about companies like the bigger organizations in tech field. That is, talk about food tech companies like Swiggy, Zomato. You talk about Ola, Uber. All these companies have started getting into the service contractor model, and also few fintech companies also. But if you talk about, most of the organizations are really not practicing this model. So I would wish to take you through this model. But before I take you through this model, I want to just run a quick poll which will help me to understand my audience, which will help me to discuss the relevant topics, and wherein I could sync with my audiences. So Ruchi, if you can just launch a quick poll. This will be a quick poll which I want all the participants to do it. Ruchi, can you launch the poll? And I will count backwards from 10 to 1. And in that, I would expect my audiences to finish that.
Sure, Ashutosh. So guys, you'll have 10 seconds to answer this poll. So I'm going to share the results now.
Oh, great. Did you share the result?
Yes. So can you see results, Ashutosh? There are 66% people who are opting for 10 staffing and 60% goes for service contractor model.
Great.
And 33% says that they are not into any of these yet.
Okay.
And we
okay.
have none for NAPS.
Okay. So at least we have got 66% who are using a general staffing model.
Right.
And anyone in the service contractor model?
Yeah, there are 17% people who are doing it at the moment.
Oh, great.
Yes.
So I would really like to hear about the participant who are already using this model. So coming further on the slide of service contractor model, in service contractor model, there are, and generally people think about what exactly this model is all about. So there are a lot of questions that come to our mind, that how exactly this model will work. Is it legal? I mean, how to pay? What will be the payout process? So before jumping onto that, let us understand who is a service contractor. So service contractor is basically any individual, any person or an entity who undertakes a specific order for a project, and he gets into an agreement to provide the service to the company as per the procedure, as per the guidelines of the organization. And once he render that services, he expects a contract fees. So any individual who undertakes a contract from a company to fulfill a project under the guideline of the organization, he is a service contractor. And how does the service contractor model works? So this is a model where a single or multiple service contractors can be appointed for doing the task, for achieving a common goal, achieving a target, and instead company will be paying them the fees on a monthly basis, or it could be twice in a month also. So basically, whenever the task is completed, the service contractor can raise the bill, raise an invoice on the company, and the company can clear the bill. So that is how the service contractor model is all about. Going further, there are two types of service contractor model. One is the fixed pay service contractor model, and the second is variable pay service contractor model. So what happens exactly in fixed pay service contractor model? In fixed pay service contractor model, a service contractor and an amount has been fixed, a payout has been fixed for a particular job, for a month, or for a particular job. So at end of the month or end of whatever tenure we decide, once he raises an invoice, we have to clear that bill, and that will be without PF, ESIC or bonus. There will be no payroll compliance will be involved. And this service model can be implemented in any industry, across the industry. It is not limited to any section or any particular industry, but it is valid for all the industries. How it differs from the variable pay model is that in variable pay, the amount is a benchmark, but there is no limit to earning. For example, if a person achieves his target more than his target, he'll be able to earn that much amount. So for example, if a person has a target of 100 sales per month, and you benchmark 20,000 rupees as his payout, if he achieves 100 sales, and if the person achieves 50% of the sales, that means he'll be eligible to raise an invoice of 10,000 only. So it is variabilized. Or in case if he achieves 150 sales, that means he will raise an invoice of 30,000 rupees. So in variable service pay model, client does not pay a fixed pay. They can variabilize the pay depending upon the performance, depending upon the task completed, and depending upon the targets achieved. So this is the two differences. This variable pay service model is mostly or widely used for sales profile. or which is measured by a per unit metrics. But in fixed pay service, it could be used for any individual, any service contractor who is not measured by a unique metrics, but he's given a task to perform on a monthly basis. That is how it is. So these were the two service contractor models. Just to elaborate more on what exactly this model works and how it can be implemented in any organization, I'll just move further. So fixed pay service contractor model. So how this can be implemented? So for example, if a company wants to get into this model, Yoma and the client will get into a service contract depending upon what model they want. They want a fixed contract model, or they want a variable pay contract model. Once we enter into a service contract, now Yoma or the client can both mutually source the service contractor. Yoma will be more than happy to source service contractors for the client, and client can also source or identify the service contractor which they want to deploy for the project. So once we identify all the service contractors, Yoma enters into a individual service contract or agreement with all the service contractors for performing that task. So in fixed model, the service contract agreement will have a fixed pay for that month. So it will not be variabilized. At the end of the month, the service contractor needs to raise an invoice for that particular amount only. So that is done. So that is a payout model is fixed between Yoma and service contractor. Then the fixed pay will be excluding of, for example, if we offer to pay him 20,000 rupees for a month for undertaking or fulfilling that contract, it will be a flat fee of 20,000 rupees without PF, ESIC, PT or bonus. And the payout will be released after deducting 2% TDS from his payout. So when this 2% will be deducted, this will be deducted once the service contractor achieves earning of 1 lakh of rupees. So for example, if the person starts earning 20,000 rupees on the first month, he'll be getting the full amount. At the 5th month, when he will earn 1 lakh of rupees, then 2% TDS will be deducted on that 1 lakh rupees. Then the 2% will start deducting from his payout. So I would request all the members to, if they have any questions in between any of the slides, any of the presentation, please park these questions in the chat box, and I request Ruchi to please make a note of all these questions so that we'll be taking each and every questions at the end of the session.
Yeah, we do have some questions in the chat box,
Great.
We should take them later, right? After
sure,
you finish.
Yes. So that we'll one by one we'll take all the questions at the end.
Sure. Yeah.
So moving ahead, for variable pay service contract model, this is same like fixed pay service contract as I explained earlier. Here, the amount is not fixed. The amount is not fixed in the service agreement. We have slabs. The slabs will be mentioned in the letter. There will be a benchmark amount mentioned, for example, 20,000, but there will also be a pro rata basis or slab mentioned in the agreement, so that at the end of the month, whatever delivery he does for that task, he will be paid likewise. The component will be variabilized depending upon the performance. Same thing here also, no PF, no SIC, no PT, no bonus, whatever the deductions are there, whatever the statutory compliances are there, that will not be a part of his payouts. And same here, he will be, we will deducting 2% TDS once he achieves 1 lakh of earning. So I'll take you to the process flow. I mean, how does the exact process flow works? Because till now we got to know that, how a company can get into this model, how a company can, identify the people, but how the entire process will flow, I'll show you in this slide. So contract sign up. So once the contract is signed up between the client and Yoma, there are two modes, there are two ways wherein the service contractors can be onboarded. The first is client asks Yoma to identify and source the service contractors, which Yoma can do very much. As I already showed you that we have got capability of sourcing across pan India. So this is one part that we will show. And the second is that client already has identified some service contractors, or they have sourced by their own channels. So once when the identification is completed of the service contractor by both the ways, what Yuma does? Yuma does the onboarding of service contractors. What does onboarding means? That means Yuma will collect the important KYC documents like PAN card, like Aadhaar card, their address proof, and then we will get into a service agreement. Yuma will release a service agreement letter to that service contractor that will be signed and accepted by the service contractor, depending upon which model he is chosen for. Then we will do an induction and the process orientation for those service contractors. It means we will explain him about the entire process. We will explain him about his payouts, about his dates, about the procedure of raising an invoice. And if required, we will get him covered under and medical insurance, as ESIC is not there. So once a service contractor is onboarded, he starts working, he starts undertaking the task as per the guidelines of the client. Once he starts working, what happens at the end of the month? He is eligible to get that amount. So what happens next? At the end of the month, client raises and client gives Yuma a details of the payout, depending upon how many service contractors are there and their payable amount. Yuma team will compute that amount and raise an invoice on the client. Client will pay the make the payment against that raised invoice, and Yuma will disburse that amount into the service contractor's bank account. Same like a staffing model. But here the catch is there are two types of invoices are raised. In a general staffing model, only vendor raise an invoice on the client pays and we disburse the amount. Here, simultaneously, when Yuma will raise an invoice to the client, the service contractor will also raise an e-invoice, because they are service contractor and they will get the payment only once there is an invoice, because this is service contractor model. This is not a general staffing model. So once there is an invoice, we disburse the pay amount. No, I know many of you must be having a question of how the entire invoicing will be done with those service contractors. So in my next slide, I'll just take you through those, how it is done. That I'll show you in the subsequent slide. But before this, I'm just trying to show you, the payout cycle. If somebody has a doubt in the mind, like, how does it works? What date we'll be managing it? So I have taken an example of payout cycle of 1st to 30th. So just you assume the payout cycle is 1st to 30th. So maybe by 1st of every month, Yuma would expect client to send the payout details, depending upon the model they have chosen, whether it is a fixed payout model or a variable payout model. Once Yuma received it, by 3rd, Yuma will send a calculation of the payout, a computation of that. Client approves that. Once the client approves that, by 3rd or 4th, immediately Yuma will share the final invoice copy with the client. By 4th, client gets 3 days in hand to clear the payment, depending upon the invoices. Once the invoices is been cleared by the client, simultaneously we will also show the client that we have received the invoices from the service contractor and we are ready to disburse the amount in the service contractor's bank account. And once we disburse the payout, we share the UTR details with the client, so that client has got a proof that Yuma has disbursed the amount as per the fixed payout. So this is how the date-wise process flow is shown, and this can be customized depending upon the client requirement. If the client wants to keep the payout cycle as 26 to 25, that can also be done. If the client wants to do a multiple payout in a month, like from 1st to 15th and then 15th to 30th, that can also be possible. So this is the process flow of client invoicing. Now I'll show you the process flow for associate invoicing. So the service contractor needs to also raise an invoice on Yuma to get his payout, because if we not if the service contractor will not raise an invoice, then it will become an employer-employee relationship. So in the service contractor model, there is no employee-employee relationship. That means there is no liability for an employer. That is the reason a service contractor has to raise an invoice. So how the flow will be there for this? See, once Yoma receives the payout details against each and every service contractor, Yoma will immediately send an SMS and send a mail to all the registered email IDs of these service contractors. This email and SMS will consist of a link, a web link. So web link will have a invoice draft. So once they receive the SMS or the link, they need to open the link. An invoice will be there. In that invoice, the amount payable will be mentioned, which will already be finalized with the service contractor and the client. So they know that this is what I'm going to earn for this month. They have to just digitally sign that invoice and press the submit button. Once they press the submit button, that invoice comes to the Yoma invoicing platform. So this is how Yoma team receives the invoices, e-invoices from all the service contractors. Once we receive the invoices from all the service contractors, Yoma is sure that we have received all the invoices, and then Yoma disburses the salary into their bank account. And after disbursement, Yoma sends an SMS to all the service contractor stating that this is the amount and that has been successfully transferred into your bank account. So this is how a payout cycle is completed for a service contractor. So this is the format of invoice which I was talking about. So once they open that link, they will be able to see this format, which will have their name, which will have their designation, service contractor, department, for which department they are working, deployed, work location, and then the amount. So they can check what is the amount. If the TDS has been deducted, what is the TDS amount deducted, and invoice submitted to Yoma Business Solutions. They can check the amount and they can digitally sign. I'll show you a screens when this will help you to visualize how the exactly invoicing process will work for these people. And we have tried to make it very simple, digital, because this type of people, I don't know how much comfortable they will be. If we have not kept any paperwork, we have not kept any hard copy system for raising invoice. They don't have to take a printout, they don't have to sign it manually, they don't have to courier it. So we have eliminated all that process and we have made it very simpler for all the service contractors. This is how the screen will look like. They will just get an SMS like this. Once they click on the link, an invoice will be open. Once the invoice is open, they can check their amount. They can click on the signature. They can do an e-signature and submit. So here, automatically, this will hardly take 2 to 3 minutes to check and submit an e-invoice. So currently we are working with a few companies and the process is very smooth. So it does not take more than 24 hours to complete this e-invoicing process for all the associates. So this is how the entire process will look like exactly. So coming back to the benefit of service contractor model, but yes, before coming on to this service contractor model, I would want to have one more pool just to understand that. I got to know that I mean there are 70% people are already working this on this model. There are a set of participants who are using general staffing model. So if you can just Ruchi, can you just launch a poll just to understand what is the main reason for outsourcing? Yes. So maybe I can backward count from 10 to 1. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. I can put slow down. 3, 2, 1. So Ruchi, have we got the poll?
Yes, Ashutosh, we have.
And if you can just share the results and let me know what is the result we have got.
Sure. And result says the reason for outsourcing is long-term cost saving is 14%, and reduced compliance is 21%. I think we have got fair mix of it, and 14% is the manpower availability, and 50% people says none of the above. So that's the result.
Mhm.
So roughly it is, 16% on an average.
Great.
Max, we've got the reduced compliance part.
Great. Because yes, because compliance is something in this model, we don't have compliance, but there is cost sharing benefit also. So just as we're talking about the benefit of the service contractor model, I would want to highlight few of the benefits of this model, which will maybe give you a clear picture like what exactly, how this will benefit you. So the one of the important benefit of this model is flexibility of scaling up and scaling down the manpower at any given point of time as per the requirement. Because see, why this model is very relevant at this time is because during this pandemic, there are a lot of change in the market. So there are different industries is operating in a different way, and they are trying to cope up with the productivity loss. They are trying to cope up with the business. So there is a lot of ramping up and scaling down of the manpower that is required at this point of time. So this model does not have any liability on any employer. That is why they can ramp up their requirements whenever they need it, and they can scale down the requirement whenever they feel that the business this is not time to ramp up. So this gives them that flexibility. Second important benefit is no employer-employee relationship. So as I told you, there is no liability of any employer. Why? Because there is no employer-employee relationship. We are not paying that service contractor a salary. We are not, payrolling that associate. We are using that associate. We are taking help of that service contractor for certain tasks, and instead he is raising an invoice and we are paying the fees. So there is no question of employer-employee relationship. There is no liability in short. Company can team a build of performers. Yes, why is important? Why a company can build a team of performers? Because when there is a fixed salary concept, the company is liable to pay a fixed salaries, even if the associate is not performing. But in this model, in the variable payout model, company can pay depending upon the performance of that associate. So he can very well identify at end of the month that these are my top performers. This, like many of you must be aware about, the Pareto principles, wherein the 20% of your manpower is 80% of the business, or if any situation, the 20% of your metrics give 80% of the business. So here also at the end of the month, you can find out that these are the performers, because they are the ones who are earning more. These are the ones who are on a constant basis are achieving their targets. So a team of performers you can build in. Then there is no hassles of statutory compliances. I mean, there is no need of annual returns, monthly returns. You have to talk about your all the compliances, PF filing, bonus filing, all the statutory acts. I mean, that is the hassle-free process. Then associates can earn being more by being productive for the organization. What does this mean? This model is not only beneficial for the client, but this model is beneficial for the associates also. Why? Because each and every associates get an opportunity to earn depending upon his performance. So for example, if a service contractor is eligible to get 20,000 rupees for 100 sales, if he and he, on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, he is able to achieve 150 to 200 sales, then why to limit his earning potential? So he can earn more. He can give his 100%. He can earn more. So here, associates has got an opportunity to earn more. Then there's a safe cost of statutory compliance and pay more in hand to salaries. So what does this mean? Save cost of statutory compliances and pay more in hand to associates. When you talk about a CTC and in-hand salary, there is almost 24 to 30%, increment from in-hand to CTC. So when there is no question of the statutory compliances, company can save that 24%, and we can instead pay a couple of $1,000 more to that associates, to that service contractor, so that you will get a good quality. You can hire more people. This will help you in hiring as well. So by spending few more $1,000, and instead you are saving on the compliances also. So here is a win-win situation for a client also and for the service contractor also. Then obviously the last point is linked to the performance again. Company can retain good performance by maximizing the earning potential depending upon the performance. you can increase the variabilized pay and you can retain performers. So whenever you feel that there is an attrition, you can very well retain those performers, and you can build a hybrid model of a fixed pay service contractor model and the variable pay service contractor model. You can have a blend of 30 fixed and 70% variable pay. This will help you to cope up with any situation that you come in, depending upon the market situation and the changes. So as I was talking about the benefits of service contractor model, I would like to also show you how exactly the statutory compliances cost saving works. This is a typical salary breakup of staffing model. This is, I've taken an example of Maharashtra minimum wage for a skilled employee. So the CTC for this is 16,544 rupees, which includes the statutory payment also, which is your PF, EDA, PF, ESIC, NWF, and PT. And then the enhanced salary becomes 12,584 rupees. So there is about almost 3,960 rupees that is you're paying for the compliances part. So in fixed salary model, you can only pay 12,584 rupees, and this compliance will be saved. But there's a catch here. Instead of saving this 4,000 rupees, I would suggest you pay him 1,000 more enhanced salary. And this band of people will look for more enhanced salary rather than their compliances. So you can pay him 13,584 rupees instead of that, and you can still save almost 2,000 rupees. And when you talk about the ESIC, which is a definitely medical security to any associate, you can pay 100 rupees more as an insurance premium, and this guy can get a family floater policy of 3 lakh rupees, 5 lakh rupees with a very minimum premium. So this is the benefit that you can get out of this model, and in a year you can really save from 20% to 24%. You can easily save per associate, per service contractor. So moving ahead quickly. So I've just tried to show you a comparison matrix between the different staffing models that we have. That is, general staffing, NAPS, or service contractor model. So minimum wages, yes, in general staffing, you need to abide by the minimum wages of the states. You cannot pay less than minimum wages. But in NAPS or in service contractor model, there is no minimum wage criteria. In service contractor model, you can pay whatever fees you decide in that service contractor. In NAPS, there is no minimum wage, but yes, you need to pay at least 7,000 rupees minimum for an apprentice. Monthly compliance in general staffing, yes, you need to abide by all the compliances, all the payroll compliance and the complete compliances. But in NAPS and service contractor, you don't have to. Multiple payout in a month, it is possible. General staffing, mainly no. You have to be 98% of the clients will only go for a monthly payout. In NAPS, you have to pay monthly. But in service contractor, yes, you can pay your service contractors on multiple payouts in a month, twice or thrice, or in fact 4 also. Because if you see, most of the food tech companies have started paying all these riders, bikers every week, because they know that these guys are really working hard in the field. They need to, because they spend in the field also. That is why most of the companies are started paying their service contractors on a weekly basis also. So a multiple payout is possible to retain staffs, to retain the employees, to retain these service contractors. Employee-employee relationship in general staffing, yes, there is. In NAPS, no. In service contractor, no. In NAPS, they work as an apprentice and they get a stipend at the end of the month. In service contractor model, there is no employer-employee relationship. Service contractor raises an invoice and instead he gets paid. Fixed duration. What is this fixed duration? So basically, in general staffing, there is no fixed tenure. I mean, a person can be employed on years basis. The renewal happens every year for that client and that associate. In NAPS, yes, there is a cap. The maximum tenure for any apprenticeship is maximum 2 years. So 1 year, 2 years. After that, the apprentice has to be absorbed, or that has to be taken on the payroll or getting into a fixed term staffing model. But in service contractor model, there is no duration. I mean, he can work for 2 months or he can work for many years as service contractor. So this is, if you talk about this comparison metrics, you will find a lot of positives in service contractor model, from savings to compliances to multiple payouts. I will take you to one of the case study for service contractor model. We are working. This is a case study that I'm presenting. This will give you an idea about how exactly this model has worked and how it has benefited for the client. So I'm talking about a fintech, a payment solution organization. So what was the problem solution in that organization? They were having mostly all the people on a fixed salary model in a general staffing model. There was a higher fixed cost every month, lesser productivity due to COVID-19. When this situation started in March 2020, the company were liable to pay fixed salaries, but they were not getting enough traction, enough business. So, company started bleeding. There were hiring challenges in certain situations. The company started degrowth. There was a degrowth in the organization. So we came up with the solution, that is service contractor model for that organization. Wherein as a pilot, we started the company migrated 50% of the third-party staffs on a service contractor model. Here, what we did, for example, if a person is earning 12,000 rupees in hand, along with the compliance of 4,000 rupees extra, that is CTC 16,000 rupees, we paid him 13,000 rupees, we paid 14,000 rupees in hand without any compliances. That helped us to retain maximum of these third-party associates and converted into service contractors. Then we assisted in sourcing service contractors across pan-India. Because as we do have the capability to source any sort of profiles across pan-India, we did that. Third, all the associates, all the service contractors were onboarded within 48 hours. How? Because we have our own application that is provided to, and all the onboarding happened through digitization, through digital onboarding happened. With the help of our application, they were able to log in and they were able to do their KYCs. Immediately, the service contractor letters were sent. We completed all these activities within a very strict timeline. So to ensure that service contractors are on the field ASAP without wasting any of the client's time and days. So this, our application, our people, this model help us to bring back those contractors again on the field. Then, and we ensure timely raising of invoices, because paying the fees is a very integral and important part for any service contractor in this situation. So we ensure that invoices is raised on time and the service contractors get the fees on time. So our backend automated platform helped us to raise the invoice timely and ensure that everybody gets the payout on time. We deployed a dedicated account manager for smooth operations and payroll. So it requires a dedicated account manager for day-to-day activities for any operations so that comes in place. Moving forward, what was the outcome? So we got to know the problems, we got to know what we did to fix that problem, then what outcome we got from this model. Within 1 month, the model was up and rolling successfully because we did everything within the strict timelines. So that model was start running. Client would gradually coming out of the fixed cost burden, because as all his fixed salaries were variabilized into fixed contractor pay model or a variable pay model, and the burden of the compliances was not there anymore. So it was coming out of the fixed cost burden. Then third was client was able to identify performers and incentivize them. Earlier, client was facing facing immense problem to identify the performers, to weed out the non-performers. But now they were able to identify the performance depending upon the task, depending upon the earnings that they were getting at the end of the month. A team of performers was building up. They could see that is happening. Service contractors were able to earn more without any limitations. So there were a lot of people who started earning more, and it really helped the client. And the overall productivity started to ramp up. So at least we could see that now this model is up and running. Cost started to come in control because the fixed cost was transferred into a variable model. But ultimately, what did we achieve from this entire model? Here is that we could give opportunity to people to earn more. I mean, not only thinking about the organization, when you think about the associate also, it gave an opportunity to many people, to many performers to earn more without any limitations. Second, through this model, financial outflow was brought in control. Earlier, the client was bleeding, the client was spending more money in terms of getting the business, but now the financial outflow was brought in control. Then it created a team of performers. Client could identify that. We client achieve this, a team of performers. Then flexibility to scale up and scale down. There were certain regions where a client thought of scaling down the manpower. There were certain regions where client could see that there is a potential and they required more service contractors. So with the help of our sourcing team, we were able to scale up and scale down the manpower. In the manpower availability anytime, anywhere. So due to the sourcing capabilities, we could provide manpower anytime, anywhere in India. And lastly, a successful partnership for an HR integrated service was derived. So we got into a successful partnership with that client for all the HR integrated services, and it really helped us and client with this collaboration. I'll just show you a few of our clients that we are working on this model. So we have mainly, if you talk about space, we are working in consumer companies like Colgate, McIntyre, L'Oreal, Britannia, ITC, Marico, RB, Perfetti, Imami, Vakwan. There are a few others. So I have mentioned a few of the clientele that we are working on this service contractor payout model. I mean, these guys are raising the invoice and we are paying them instead for the service rendered. So this was from my end. Thank you very much, all the participants. I really, enjoyed taking this session. So I hope, Ruchi, we have got a lot of questions in our chat box, and
Yes,
I'm excited to take all these questions.
Yes, Ashutosh. Let me take them one by one.
Mm-hmm.
1 second.
So we still have 15 minutes, right?
Sure. Yes, we do have. So we can take 5-10 minutes extra.
Great.
So we have first question which says, is this legal to not pay compliances like ESIC, PF, LWF, etc.?
It is legal only when there is no employer-employee relationship. So yes, definitely it is illegal, because illegal when you hired somebody as an employee and you are not paying PF or ESIC or the compliance, it is illegal. But if you are hired somebody as a contractor, then obviously you don't have to pay this, because you are not liable to pay, because there is no employer-employee relationship. Indeed, the service contractor is raising an invoice and you are paying. This is same like if somebody comes to your house for any project, for any task, he completes that task, he will raise an invoice and you pay the money. There is no employer-employee relationship. So it is perfectly legal only when it is in the service contractor model. But if it is an employee and an employee model, company has to pay the PF and ESIC. So hope this answers my question.
Yeah. So basically, because they are serving us as vendors, so it is legal in that case, right?
Yes,
that's what you meant.
They are serving us as a contractor and they are raising an invoice and we are paying against that invoice.
Sure. So Shraddha, I guess you've got the answer for your question. We have another question which says, can we convert the existing third-party staff into these service contractors?
Yes, very well. So see the case study which I just showed about one of the fintech organization, they were having manpower on third-party general staffing. So we migrated those third-party general staffing associates into a service contractor. But yes, there was a catch, because earlier they were getting the compliances, they were getting the PF and ESIC. What we did is that we gave an increment of couple of $1,000 in their in hand, and we gave them an insurance cover to take care of the securities, the medical securities. So you can easily transfer those existing.
So how smooth was the transition? Were these people ready to move on to these service contractor?
Initially, no. When you talk about moving these people who are already getting in compliance, who are already getting PF, who are already getting ESIC, they will ask you a question about their losses, right? That once they move out of this model, they will not be getting those benefits. But yes, when you ensure to pay them couple of thousand more bucks, for example, like earlier your spending was 4,000 rupees on the compliance part, and now you are only paying 2,000 rupees in hand by eliminating the compliance part, that the person is more than happy to get more in hand salary. So that
Right.
is one point. And as they are not liable to get the ESIC, which is a medical security for them. Instead, you are providing with a medical cover for a family or for individual. So that really helps them with a very minimum premium, with a very minimum monthly premium. So this is how you can do it. And most of the people, I mean, almost 90% of the people were happy to get onto this model once they know that they are getting 2,000 rupees in hand, and instead of they are also getting the medical cover also.
Right. So we have another question which says, will the 2% TDS deduction be on from the first month or only after employee achieves 1 lakh earning of rupees 1 lakh?
No, see, the 2% the 2% TDS will start deducting from once the contractor starts earning 1 lakh of rupees. Once he reaches that 1 lakh rupee mark, then from 1 lakh rupee onwards, we will start deducting 2% TDS. Before that, we will not.
All right. So we have another question from Dipesh. Implication of variable service contractor model in industrial staffing can be done SPL in garment nature. I think, Dipesh, have I got the question right? Or if you want, you can please ask your question if you think that I'm not able to put
you
it
can
across.
unmute and you can ask Dipesh.
Exactly the way you want to put. You can ask your question because I think I haven't got the question right. And the question continues. Also, he says, also ROI of service contractor model in sales rep is easy.
Ruchi, this is Dipesh here. Hello.
Yes, Dipesh. Hi,
Yeah,
hi.
see, hello. See, we are in garment manufacturing. I used to talk this with Shravanti about this. That done especially in garment manufacturing. I made it short words, especially in garment manufacturing. Implication of this, we are already doing this, but implication this through YOMA, this model. This industry, because since we are working on here with especially like a piece rate basis, so YOMA will be handling this.
Yes,
is this quite clear?
Sure. So let me answer you, Dipesh here. See, the entire intent of this model is that why do client outsource their manpower? Because they want
very flexible. That's exactly. 50% I want. I want to be very flexible, fly-light model.
Yes. And they really want to focus on the core business, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. They want to focus more on core business, and this hassles of hiring, hassles of managing their compliances,
absolute
hassles of paying salaries, their leaves, and all those things. That is why client wants to focus on more business. They outsource. So as we are the specialist, and we've been doing this for many years now. We have got all the technology automation. With the help of that, we are able to ease your operations, and entire thing we will take care of that. So there is no implication as such. You can still focus on your main business, and all your hirings, all your payouts, all your invoices will be taken care by us. And instead vendors charge a certain amount, a certain payroll fees, a certain fees for this.
We are actually in a job work and our own product manufacturing. Apart from we are two industries here. We are working on an engineering industry. We are working in an apparel industry. Especially when we are working on an apparel industry, we are purely based on. You may be knowing about this. That is called as piece rate basis, piece rate model.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that is like a variable service only. Since no ESI, no PS, nothing is running here. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, in the manufacturing side. When this, I think so, as per my doubt are clear that you can manage this.
We can very well manage it, and this can be very
and one silver lining what you gave right now was third party. Shravanti put me on that word, third party conversion from the model of general to this one. You told one more beautiful word, that was rather than going from ESI PF, which is a burden to our side of like a businessman, it is better to go for insurance based, family insurance based.
Family insurance cover. That is like something giving a silver lining to them. Absolutely. And they will not feel that, something has been snatched from them.
This point, this is a wonderful point you gave to me. I'm really thankful for that. And then second line, what I'm quoting is that return on investment of the service model in sales representative in easier. Is it easier? Is that on a, it is easier? See, on a target based, see, no one, every salesperson, whenever he gets into field, he comes with a target, he doesn't come with a target, depends on the season, depends on the market trends, depends on the lot of market scenarios.
Yes,
the
yes.
target, if I say that by block the target of 100 per this month, he may achieve 60 or 70. What about that 40% then?
Great, great. So here, Dipesh, I would like to give you a very beautiful example here, how you can manage this. See, here generally what we tell our client is that, for example, you're saying there are definitely, ups and downs in the market. A salesperson can achieve a target in first month. He may not be able to achieve in the second month. But yes, at the end of the day, what you can find out that which are your top performers, which are the people who are giving consistent business to you. So you can slab this. You can do the payout slab wise. For example, if somebody is achieving business from 80 to 100%, you would get this amount. This is applicable for you. If somebody is doing business from 50 to 80%, they will be applicable to get this much amount. So this is how you can bifurcate. And at the end of the 3 months, you'll be able to know which are those non-performers, which are those performers, which are the consistent performers.
I have discussed this with Hemant, your ex-employee, about this, but he was saying that this is very tedious one. Since scrutinizing the staff itself will have to write algorithm for that. Then we have to prepare one more beautiful segmenting part, then statistically moving and restructuring the staff. He told about that this is playing with the staffing. So he told that this is not a flexi plan.
Why it could be a flexi plan? Sorry to interrupt the page. Why I personally feel this is a model which can be worked out, because a person who is working hard in achieving the target on month-on basis is getting the same salary, and the person who is not performing on a consistent basis and he's just achieving 50%, he's also getting the same salary. So Absolutely. This is a demotivating factor for the person who is achieving more. So at least you can incentivize that person by giving him variable pay. You ask that person to achieve more and earn more. And
I call this as a talent based. I call this as a talent based earning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
the artistic way of earning. Wonderful means
exactly.
artistic way of earning. Since we are implemented this, in a manufacturing segment. When I'm coming toward my sales segment in both my engineering industry, in my family based apparel manufacturing industry, sales, the staff says no sir, no target based. Reason is that is the third sentence which I had quoted there. You may have read that, you can understand that. Reason behind that is market is running purely on the credit line. Every industry from 30 days to 40 days, 45 days to 60 days. So this what I had quoted here. I think
identifying the right resources also a challenge. And if you are able to solve this challenge of hiring a right associate, a right manpower, which really helps you.
So there are huge credit limits running in the market. The staffing runs away due to those credit. They say that sir, we have completed the staff. But my sense is very clear. Sales is not completed until the whole 100% invoice bill is clear. That is 100% payment is bound back.
No, absolutely.
Then only sales is clear.
Very,
that is my sales, 100% sales. I say that then we have done the sales. But they give it to the credit in the market. They bring the huge credit in the, that is what is this credit limit. We call that as a credit limit. Bill receivables are being pushed. Then is this a responsibility by a third party like you who are going to look more into this? If the staff runs away from that, bills recovery, we call it as a very simple bill recovery.
See, so if you talk about the bill recovery, I mean, if you have that model that runs away with what? Runs away with the cash he gets, because
yes.
So here,
they run away with the cash.
Definitely.
So they run away with the goodwill, what we generate. Then sometimes they run away due to non-recovery of the payments. They say that sir, हमसे हो पा नहीं पाया, वो party payment दे नहीं रहा है, वो अकुड़ू है, वो थोड़ा सा ठीक नहीं है.
Just to give you a broader perspective, यहाँ पे I would like to answer this question in two ways. First is that आप एक मिनट के लिए you आप ये दिमाग से निकाल दीजिए that this is a service contractor model. You talk about a normal employee-employee relationship, jahan pe bhi you will find this sort of threat of your person running away with the cash, right? This can happen in any model. So what does company do? Company has their KYC document. Why is the company doing the KYC? Why is the company doing their background check? You talk about any of the companies now, they are doing a background check for each and every employee to know their existing police verification. They will do their background court verification. They will check their address verification. Why? Because these are the things. There is a common threat, and this is not limited to any model that you work on. So if something happens, you have that. We will very well ensure that we do a proper police complaint. We will ensure that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I understand about this KYC model and then all. These
So
are all like a legal compliances. Legal compliances. Sir, business. We need to focus on the business rather than going on this all.
We will help you. We will help you. Filing the complaint. We will interact with the police officials.
Sir, understood about that. Understood about that. But ये तो सारा झमेला हो गया ना कि कारोबार देखो या ये सारा चीज देखो.
नहीं वो सर वो हमें देखना है ना सर. हमें वो हेल्प करना है आपको.
Sure then this is worth a while. So carry on, sir. These are my three basic.
Hope I am able to answer you all the questions.
Yeah. I got your words clear, so I can go with you on this platform. Okay then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashutosh ji, and thank you, Ruchi ji. Okay.
Thank you, Dipesh.
Thank you.
Any further questions do we have?
Yeah, Ashutosh, we have a couple of more questions left. Let me take them quickly. Okay, do we have any app or tracking app to track these invoice and other things for these resources?
Okay, so here the answer is we do have an application that a client can opt for. If the client is not willing to opt for this application because this will be chargeable, that is the reason we are using a web-based invoicing form. This does not require any associate to have an application. They will just get a link on their phone and they can raise an invoice. But if the client wishes to have an application, we very well have that model. We very well have that application, internal application that we can use.
Sure. So we have, I guess, two more questions with us. One is, can this model be applied to warehouse and logistic industry?
See, this model can be very well applied in logistics and warehouse industry. And just to name that, we right now also we have one of the clients that we are working in this model, wherein they have got semi-skilled people. All these people are on a fixed pay service contract model. They are getting the payment without any PF or ESIC, but they are getting little bit higher than the industry standard. That is the reason they are very well and happy working in this model. So this can very well be applicable in any logistic and warehouse industry.
Okay. So we have one last question. I'll quickly take this up. Service contractors who are not covered under PF and ESIC benefits, what can we do to make make sure that they get financially and medically secured?
Okay, so I've already answered this question to Dipesh. So if in this model there is no PF or ESIC involved, we can very well cover all these employees into medical insurance. So it could be of 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees, depending upon the requirement, and individual or family cover can be taken to take care of his medical expenses. So that can be very well taken care of.
Sure. So we don't have any more questions.
Great. I think we are on time. And yes, if
Dipesh here.
Yes, Dipesh.
Yeah. One more last one. I think about the unions. Since nowadays Karnataka is also running on the unions, labor unions. As it used to be in the Maharashtra. I have my working house there in Maharashtra also, but we are shut down the manufacturing unit due to the union in the year of long time back.
Right.
So how are this going to get handled?
Great. So Dipesh, there is no question of union because there is no employer-employee relationship. Why this model is running successfully in most of the fintech or foodtech organizations like Swiggy and Zomato, just because there is no employer-employee relationship.
No, the unions have been getting formed in Zomato. I had been noticed about this in Uber, Ola, Bangalore, especially in Bangalore, and even in our garment line, since they are on a variable based on a piece rate basis, but the unions are formed. These
see-
unions are like disturbing the manufacturing house due to some internal rivalry or external rivalry or the political plans. There are a lot of things you know about the unions.
No, yes, union can form, but legally there is no implication
The
that this
paperwork, I'll have to
harming,
conclude this.
because
Is there going to be a paper with the individual staff that
absolutely,
no union
absolutely.
forms, no union will be formed?
Absolutely. There is a agreement when all these important clauses, all these indemnity clauses will be added in the service agreement, in the contract letters. So obviously an action can be taken on each and every contractors who would try to, build a union and try to harm any organization in any form, in any way. So legally we are very much compliant in terms of managing all these activities.
And one more thing, since in the production line of a manufacturing segment, that is garment, they are all like very not graduated, or they're non-graduate, even maybe 7th pass or 10th pass and all. They don't sign all this paperwork. The reason behind that is fear factor. I had experienced this. I had experience about this. The reason behind are lots of things: fear factors, bonding of the labor, and then
each and every clauses can be explained. See,
convincing them is a very big something like convincing these people, especially this artwork people. So it's very something.
Challenges will come. See, definitely challenges will come. But yes, when we are able to, overcome these challenges with certain logic, with certain, offerings, and when we lay a proper path to them, a proper growth opportunity and earning potential, these challenges can be overcome. This can really come.
Agreementing them, taking them on a paperwork. Okay, challenging. I understood about it, but taking them on the paper.
नहीं, पेपर पे आते देखिए, जो पेपर में नहीं आते हैं तो हम दूसरा हायर करते हैं, because paper is an important aspect of today's future, right? Without paper, nobody will work. Each and every employee will ask for an offer letter. Do any employee will work without an offer letter? No. He will ask for that. And when we are hiring service contractor, we would ask for an acceptance on an agreement. Why would we not ask? So it has to be a win-win situation for both the parties, right? So no employee is bigger than an organization and the process.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, fine then. Again, I got one more thing clear. Thank you again. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
So, so for all the participants, this PPT this presentation will be shared. And Ruchi, I would request you if you can just mention your name and email ID in the chat box, so that if anybody has any queries later on, they can write into you, and then we can separately answer them on the mail.
Sure. But before that, I would request everyone to come on camera once and give a thumbs up if you like the presentation.
Yeah, please. We would also like to take a screenshot of that. I was about to request the same. Thanks, Ruchi.
Thank you.
Thanks,
stop sharing the. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ashutosh. Thanks, Ruchi. Thank you so much.
It was very nice. Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you, Ruchi.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you, Ruchi.
Thank you, Shravanti. So guys, once again, a big thank you to you all who have taken out time for this session. I hope you enjoyed the session. And in case you don't have any questions right now and you have them in future, so you may write to us at admin@yuma multinational.com or ruchit@yuma multinational.com. We shall get back to you within a day or two on that. You can also write to us for the recording of this session. We shall share that with you too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.